Thank you, Kel. That is the program this hour. It is time for 9 News at 6 Live right now.
Tonight, Freedom Fury, a Bali bomber dubbed the Demolition Man, gifted a green light to walk from jail. His early release shocking survivors. Plus, outrage over a 99-year-old grandmother's agonising emergency department wait. Tears and tributes for 2 young mates killed in a horror motorbike crash. A hit-and-run driver jailed for deliberately reversing his car over a Perth teenager. And Clarko's cool. The 4-time premiership coach signs a monster 5-year deal.
This is 9 News Perth with Natalia Cooper.
Good evening. Freedom for an Indonesian terrorist who built the bomb that killed 88 Australians.
News Perth with Natalia Cooper.
Good evening. Freedom for an Indonesian terrorist who built the bomb that killed 88 Australians has triggered fresh pain and anger. Umar Patek is expected to walk from prison next week after his sentence for the 2002 Bali bombings was dramatically reduced.
Unlike his smiling accomplice, Ali Amrozi, Umar Patek was stony-faced when he was sentenced a decade ago for helping build the bomb that killed 88 Australians. He'd been on the run for nearly 10 years. The terrorist Indonesians dubbed the Demolition Man, now gifted a green light and set to walk free from prison within days.
His actions were the actions of a terrorist. They did have such dreadful results.
Patek granted parole after serving just half of his 20-year sentence. He was due for release next January. Instead, he received a 5-month reduction. Indonesian authorities claiming he's been de-radicalised.
We respect Australian law, and we wish also everyone also respect Indonesian law.
The news has hit survivors like a wave of grief.
How can you trust somebody that's created the worst loss of life for Australians since the war?
Paul Vanni, president of the Coogee Dolphins Rugby League Club, lost 6 teammates that October night.
It's completely devastating. It's actually outrageous.
The Prime Minister vowing to raise concerns with Indonesia.
We'll continue to make diplomatic representations in Australia's national interest.
And this guy's now going to be walking out amongst us up in Bali. It's a brutal day for those who have lost loved ones like us.
Early Walsh, 9 News.
16 Western Australians lost their lives in the Bali bombings. 7 young men were from the Kingsley Football Club. Ashton Hiron, the club is planning a special commemoration for those who didn't make it home.
Natalia, some of the club's legends will be pulling on a jersey in about 7 weeks' time for an exhibition game for that 20th anniversary of the bombings. 20 players from the Kingsley Football Club were on an end-of-season trip when a bomb tore through the Sari club that Saturday night. 13 made it home, 7 didn't. Survivors, family members and mates will return to the Kingsley Memorial Club rooms for the special exhibition game and to reflect on their devastating loss 20 years ago. And Natalia, just by being at this club room, it's evident that this club continues to remember the legacy of those members lost.
Ashton, thank you. A 99-year-old grandmother has been forced to wait 5 hours in an emergency department only to leave and suffer a heart attack the following day. Dora Milam was given Panadol at Joondalup Health Campus for severe pain. Her son tonight demanding answers.
8 hours of waiting in agony. That's what 99-year-old Dora Milan was faced with at Joondalup Health Campus, and her son believes it could have killed her.
There's no doubt that if we'd not hospitalised her, she wouldn't be alive today.
Weeks after a heart attack, the Sorrento grandmother became unwell. Suffering severe abdominal pain, her son called 000 and was told an ambulance would take 2 hours. Instead, he drove her to hospital, where the 99-year-old was triaged as Category 3, given Panadol and told to wait in her wheelchair. And that's what they did for nearly 5 hours until it became too much.
So I went and asked the lady and they came out and said, look, it could be another 4 hours. And at this stage, we'd been there 5. And I said to my mum, what do you want to do? And she said, look, I'm in agony, please take me home, I can't sit here anymore.
The following morning, her family tried the private Hollywood hospital, the grandmother having a second heart attack hours after her arrival.
If we'd just done exactly what we're told, who knows?
North Metropolitan Health insists the grandmother was triaged appropriately according to her symptoms, but her son wants answers as his mother remains in hospital.
Everybody's got a job to do. But my question is, where does the buck stop?
The Health Minister telling 9 News, while some patients may experience longer than usual waits, those who need treatment urgently continue to be seen immediately.
I think it's going to get worse because those staff, doctors and nurses, are getting burnt out. The government needs to make a serious commitment.
As a bloke sitting there with your mum, wanting to give her the best you can, you feel like you've failed. I felt like I'd failed.
Mia Edgerton-Warburton, 9 News.
Shattered friends and family are tonight mourning the loss of 2 young men killed in a Rockingham motorbike crash. The duo lost control in heavy fog, detectives trying to determine if that caused the double tragedy.
That they were loved is clear to see. Friends laying flowers for 17-year-old Nathan Randall and 22-year-old Jesse Dixon.
It kind of touched my heart and I couldn't help but to cry, to be honest. I'm truly devastated for his family and his friends, and I'm here today to pay my respects.
The two died early yesterday morning after their motorbike hit a tree in heavy fog near the corner of Patterson Road and Ennis Avenue. Jesse remembered as an easygoing mate with a love of cars.
He was just a good person to be with, lovely guy to be around. I know he loved his Skyline a lot.
His aunt saying in a statement, "You had an absolute heart of gold. You loved the family so much and your friends." Tributes too for the younger of the pair, Nathan. This from his sister. "I just can't believe my big brother's gone. His personality was something different than anyone else's. He was one of a kind." Friends and family are also grateful to witnesses to the crash who didn't hesitate to do everything they could to try and help the pair, rushing in to give first aid.
They've done their best to help, and I wish them the best for everything they've done for them.
Both family and loved ones now waiting for answers from major crash detectives about exactly what caused the early morning ride to go so wrong.
2 young guys riding a bike and then this happens. It's devastating for his parents and his friends and family.
Ezra Holt, 9 News.
A Perth woman accused of killing her partner at an Alkimos home has had her manslaughter charge upgraded to murder. The body of 34-year-old Jordan Kane was found in the garage of his Minimum Way property in July. 28-year-old Brittany McCulloch faced court today and remains behind bars. It's a move the federal government claims would slash the price of electric vehicles along with emissions. The Energy Minister unveiling a proposal to rev up Australia's EV market and catch up to the rest of the world.
It's pedal to the metal for a new electric vehicles plan, as the government tries to steer Australians towards low emissions cars.
We're putting the wheels in motion.
Moving a step closer to adopting fuel efficiency standards by announcing it'll consult with industry and states and territories over the proposal.
Basically, it's a requirement on manufacturers to send a balance of cars to Australia, a fleet, which reflects good emissions.
Claiming it would increase the supply of electric vehicles in Australia.
More than 80% of cars around the world are sold in jurisdictions with fuel emissions standards.
Arguing it would bring down the cost.
Our policy settings in Australia have discouraged manufacturers from sending affordable electric vehicles to Australia.
Cheaper electric vehicles already exist around the world. They're just often not brought to Australia.
Most other developed countries already have fuel efficiency standards, some imposing penalties on manufacturers who don't stick to the rules.
Car makers tell us, frankly, this is why we cannot send you the cheaper electric vehicles. Because those penalties don't exist here, we are telling the rest of the world's market to treat us like a dumping ground.
But our standards cannot be a step forward from where we are today. They have to catch up to where the rest of the world is.
The opposition argues the plan to get more Australians into cheaper electric cars by adopting these standards will force manufacturers to push up the price of larger vehicles that run on fuel.
This would be imposing fuel and vehicle standards on Australians, but worse, it would effectively be a tax on the most popular vehicles in Australia.
Can you just explain why it's not a carbon tax?
Because it isn't.
Fiona Willan, 9 News.
The Premier has officially declared a dinner with $1,000 bottles of luxury wine in order to comply with the Ministerial Code of Conduct. Mark McGowan had first defended the Grange tasting night at Perth property developer Nigel Slattery's house, saying it was all in a day's work for a state leader in demand. But the free food and wine has now been recorded in the register. Former Nationals MP James Hayward will go on trial over allegations he sexually abused an 8-year-old girl. The embattled Southwest politician has denied the charges, with a 5-day trial set for next August. Prominent lawyer Tom Percy will defend the 52-year-old, who has been free on bail since his arrest last year. Transport workers in the UK have gone on strike, causing chaos for commuters and millions of travellers on their first overseas holiday in years. 80% of the nation's rail system has ground to a halt and will be impacted for days.
A city and a country back to its vibrant best after a long and crippling COVID hibernation. London teeming with tourists again at the summer peak, but widespread rail strikes are stopping many in their tracks.
Well, basically all the trains were gone and we had to wait ages for the trains. Yeah. It was just totally bonkers.
A mass walkout bringing 80% of the UK's rail services to a halt in the past 24 hours. Some of the busiest stations closed. Commuters confused inside the one still open.
But I feel like in the stations here, it's not really clear.
Even Heathrow and Gatwick airports warning travellers they'll be affected. A knock-on effect on the roads too, causing gridlock and frustration. A series of strikes over paying conditions amid soaring cost of living pressures impacting rail and bus services through to Sunday.
And there's no sign things are going to get much better anytime soon. Union bosses warn these rolling strikes could go on indefinitely, making things extremely challenging for locals and unpredictable for visitors just trying to plan their movements.
For us, it has been awful because we were supposed to leave on Sunday and then we have changed everything.
I think we've got our profile up, we've got this issue at the centre of national debate, and now our job is to get an agreement with the companies.
We've put a very good deal on the table, but that hasn't been put to my staff. The RMT have refused to put that to a referendum, and that's the problem.
A problem the government's refusing to get into, seemingly at least, until the new PM is known. In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
Four-time premiership coach Alastair Clarkson has made his call, signing a monster 5-year deal with North Melbourne. The Kangaroos beat Essendon for his signature, but it's now emerged the Bombers were never really in the race.
The disappointment of defeat is all too common at Arden Street these days, but not this day. Winners are grinners.
Delighted to introduce the next coach of the North Melbourne Football Club in Alastair Clarkson.
The decision to coach North Melbourne was made last night during a Clarkson family meeting.
Probably 7:30 last night it was stamped that the Kangaroos was going to be our new home.
Is that unanimous?
Yeah, they were all pretty excited.
That decision ended weeks of speculation, and it needn't have turned into the circus that Clarko has branded it. As it turns out, the Bombers left their run far too late, and Clarkson spoke with them more out of courtesy.
The due diligence required to actually consider coaching a club takes a hell of a lot more than 4 days for me, anyway.
It's very much a homecoming for Clarkson, who played 93 games for North Melbourne from 1987 through to 95. His first visit to Arden Street was as a 9-year-old. By the time he was playing, he was going through some difficult teenage times.
When it comes time to make decisions as pivotal as this one, you think back to the moments in your life where you really needed some support. This club gave it to me.
While not officially clocking on until November the 1st, Clarkson had a brief chat with the players following today's media conference. For some fans, the enormity of today will take time to sink in. It remains to be seen just when Clarkson will inflict his musical talents on this group, as he did with Hawthorn.
You better watch out, you better not cry. I had breakfast with Sean Burgoyne and Amy on Wednesday morning in Adelaide, and Sean said to me, "Wherever you go, don't bring that guitar out." So.
But while they're singing the praises of Alastair Clarkson here at Arden Street, over at Essendon headquarters, it's a more sombre tone. New President David Barham was in apologetic mode, in particular for the treatment of coach Ben Rutten.
I told him I was talking to Clarko. He was disappointed, but I did tell him everything that was going on. Had I had my timing, I would have rung him Monday.
Despite the undignified manner in which he's been subjected to, Rutten himself delivered a dignified response.
I'm the coach of this footy club, and I made a commitment to serve the Essendon Footy Club, the members, supporters and my players.
Adding to the intrigue, the push to bring James Hird back.
Is there a chance to coach the club or
not? Does he want to?
As the Bombers try to dig themselves out of an almighty ditch, North Melbourne celebrates the return of Alastair Clarkson. Shinboner player 781 has just become number one. Tony Jones, 9 News.
Perth's northern suburbs are tonight rallying for an aspiring Olympic cyclist left in a wheelchair after a freak accident. The 14-year-old is facing months in hospital after suffering a dream-shattering spinal injury. Brittany Hoskins, hundreds have turned out for the fundraiser.
It's sold out, Natalia, and looking around, it's clear there is so much support for Jasmine and her family. The teen suffered a C5 spinal cord injury after falling from a mountain bike while holidaying in Margaret River. The family says she had a bright cycling career ahead of her and dreamed of competing at the Olympic Games in Brisbane in 2032. Jas spent 6 weeks in ICU at Royal Perth Hospital before being moved to the Children's Hospital for intense rehabilitation. Natalia, funds raised tonight will help support Jas and her family on that journey.
Thank you, Brittany, and let's hope they raise a lot of money. Kelly Haywood is here with your weather details. And Kelly, it was cool and cloudy across the suburbs today.
Oh, it certainly was, Natalia. The sun did manage to show its face, but it didn't really help to warm the day up too much. It was a very slow climb from last night's minimum of just over 9 degrees to just over 19 degrees here in the city this afternoon. It was a few degrees cooler as we made it closer to the ocean, those coastal suburbs reaching a top of just 17 degrees, 17 in Kalamunda too, and a frosty start there, or a foggy start as well. And a ridge of high pressure is moving in off the coast, and that is keeping the rain away and the sun shining over the coming days. But we are looking at some light showers in the southwest towards the end of the weekend, around Sunday morning. So we do have some beautiful days ahead of us, Natalia, but I will have more on that coming up a little later.
OK, Kel, looking forward to it. Thanks. Next, a haunting vision of a child predator breaking into a WA home. A Perth driver jailed for deliberately reversing his car over a teenager. Plus, dragged from a burning wreck, the hero rescuers who save this couple's lives, predicting Alzheimer's years in advance, the clue that could be in your blood. And surgeons swing into action for a sick Perth Zoo favourite. A Perth driver has been jailed for 7 years after he was filmed deliberately reversing over a teenager. The mother of the victim says her son was left a prisoner after the horror hit and run.
A callous act caught on camera. Falling from a moving car, a promising young footballer lays motionless in the middle of the road. The 40-year-old driver, Robert Rankin, reversing over him. He stops, not to help, but to hurl a racist slur, telling his victim he got what he deserved. The pair met at a Kwinana service station in 2020 when the teen asked for a ride home. He fell out of the car during a struggle as he attempted to take the driver's gold necklace. The 40-year-old claimed what happened next was an accident. In June, a jury disagreed. The victim's mother telling a court Rankin's actions had robbed her beautiful son of his hopes and dreams and sentenced him to a lifetime full of pain, suffering and agony. He spent 6 months learning to walk again, undergoing numerous surgeries. His mother says he became a prisoner of his own mind, now mourning the loss of her son who died in June. Robert Rankin was sentenced to 7 years and 10 months behind bars. And as the ruling was read, the victim's mother yelled, "I've never hated anyone in my whole life, but I hate you." He will be eligible for parole after serving 5 years. Brittany Hoskins, 9 News.
Terrifying security vision has captured a brazen prowler creeping into an 8-year-old into their bedroom in Geraldton. The man can be seen walking around the home for more than 2 hours before unlocking a back door. The intruder touched the sleeping girl's arm and back and whispered to her. He was arrested over the nighttime scare in June and pleaded guilty earlier this week. Bystanders are being hailed as heroes for saving the lives of a race car driver and his partner. The pair was pulled from the burning wreckage of a supercar following a terrifying high-speed crash.
Oh my God.
A $500,000 McLaren up in flames. Somehow the driver and his female passenger are alive, surviving this. The supercar flying through a roundabout and slamming into a power pole, exploding on impact.
You all right?
Oh. His leg flooded. She can't remember going to dinner or anything, and she can't remember getting out of the car.
His leg is badly broken, but he can consider himself lucky. She's concussed, but remarkably almost unscathed, taken to hospital in a stable condition.
If it wasn't for the courageous effort for bystanders to remove these persons from the vehicle, we would have definitely had a different situation here tonight.
Still in his pyjamas, Stephen was the first on scene, dodging live wires, dragging the pair from the wreckage as the fire took hold.
The girl was unconscious and the guy was in a lot of pain.
He doesn't like to admit it, but he almost certainly saved their lives.
All that in my mind was getting over to that car and making sure people were safe. No hero, just doing what probably anyone else would do.
This footage was captured on John's security cameras. He says it's a miracle they weren't killed.
Horrific, can't believe that, they walked away.
Behind the wheel for this terrifying brush with death, 34-year-old professional race car driver Chris Pappers. He has a taste for luxury vehicles, showing off his McLaren 720S online, and with a $500,000 price tag, why wouldn't you? This is all that's left of it now. Fair to say it's a write-off.
An Australian actress who went missing in Los Angeles before being found behind bars has been freed on bail. The 37-year-old's family launched an online campaign to find her, only to later be told she'd been arrested.
In Hollywood, the aim of the game is usually to be on camera, but for this Aussie actress, things didn't go quite to plan.
In the case of a missing actress, she was found behind bars
for allegedly biting a cop, among other things.
And it turns out she wasn't actually missing. She was under arrest.
37-year-old Laura McCulloch disappeared last Friday after telling her family she was meeting up with an online date. Her loved ones launched an online campaign to find her, only to find out she wasn't missing, she was locked up.
Laura, everybody was worried about you. Everybody was worried about you. There was a wanted bulletin for you.
Police say the Aussie threw a drink at an adult and a toddler at a Santa Monica restaurant before kicking and biting officers during her arrest.
Hi, I'm Laura McCulloch. I'm an actor, singer, voiceover artist, writer and producer.
And now also bailed for $36,000. A bad night out, a few more behind bars. And in Hollywood, Laura McCulloch has sure made a name.
Wow. Wish you the best of luck.
Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
Australian researchers have found a crucial clue to better understanding Alzheimer's disease. Scientists have found a higher level of one particular blood biomarker can indicate a greater risk of contracting the condition, more than 30 times more than normal. The discovery could lead to a simple blood test, allowing for early intervention. One of Perth Zoo's oldest residents has undergone an after-hours medical emergency. A human reproductive specialist had to be called in to assist Puteri, the orangutan.
All hands on deck at Perth Zoo to save one of its oldest residents, Puteri. A team of vets, nurses and a specialist working to remove uterine polyps after the 52-year-old orangutan passed several blood clots and fainted.
She had had issues with basically heavy menstrual bleeding, so we knew that could be very dangerous.
Orangutans are our closest living primates, sharing 97% of human DNA. While our anatomies are similar, orangutans don't go through menopause. A gynaecologist, more used to operating on humans, called in for his expertise.
What we've discovered is that she has developed a precancerous condition inside the uterus, not unlike what we find in humans.
Both apes and keepers well prepared for the 2.5-hour surgery, thanks to regular training together for health checkups. From needles...
Oh, good girl. Well done.
...to nose swabs and dental checks.
That's it.
The mother of 3 who was born at the zoo, now on the mend.
She is flourishing. She's moving her around her exhibit really well. She definitely did not mind some recovery time indoors.
Sumatran orangutans are critically endangered. It's believed there are less than 14,000 left in the wild. Habitat loss and the unsustainable palm oil industry, the biggest threats to their survival. You can help by paying them a visit at Perth Zoo. Sarah Smith, 9 News.
Let's go to finance, and the share market hit a fresh 10-week high, while a worrying report from Ingham's shows higher chicken prices are on the way. Here's business reporter Chris Kohler.
Cochlear, AGL and Newcrest were some of the big companies announcing their profits today, and the reactions were mixed, with the ASX finishing flat after touching a 10-week high this morning. The focus was on chicken company Ingham's, which said it'll push through what it calls significant price hikes this year to cope with inflation. And that will hurt, because in its report it showed this: the average Australian now eats about 50 kilograms of chicken per year, head and shoulders above the old favourites like beef, lamb and pork. A lot of that has been because chicken is cheap, but that could soon start to change. Elsewhere, the Australian dollar was mostly higher, buying 69 US cents, 68.6 euro cents and 58 British pence.
Chris, thank you. Next, a shock and anger over a proposed WA ban on prized fish. Plus, gunfire exchanged in a wild chase, incredible scenes to stop a violent carjacker. Plus, the law catches up with the surfers who caused a stir in Venice. Inside an unusual research lab 1 kilometre underground, unravelling the mysteries of the universe. And Dame Nellie Melba's billiards table restored to its former glory in a worthy new home.
9 News, brought to you by Water Corporation. Think climate change. Be water wise.
Recreational anglers are tonight furious over a proposed extended ban on popular fish. The minister says the tighter restrictions are necessary to replenish severely depleted stocks, but lobby groups insist the plan is unacceptable.
It's a plan that affects about 40,000 hobby anglers and dozens of charter boat operators fishing for some of the most popular species along an 800-kilometre stretch from Kalbarri to Augusta.
This proposal, if implemented as planned, would be an absolute disaster for fishing on the West Coast.
But the Fisheries Minister insists drastic action is needed to save future demersal stocks, including dewfish and pink snapper, and prevent even more extreme bans in the future.
If the recovery doesn't improve, we'd have to consider the management arrangements, and they'd probably be tighter.
The government's proposal offers recreational fishers a choice between a 94-day fishing season from December to January and March to May, or a 123-day season between April and May, then August and October. But the opposition says the cost to fishers and coastal towns is too great.
The proposal for effectively cutting any fishing for 6 months will cause havoc for communities like Kalbarri and other areas that depend on that industry.
This decision, as it stands, if implemented, will strip hundreds of millions of dollars out of the West Australian economy.
The plan is open for industry comment until September 16.
If people have something that we haven't thought of, we welcome that, but we have to make a decision and move forward.
Mia Edgerton-Warburton, 9 News.
Police in Las Vegas have released dramatic video of a car chase with a violent suspect who shot at them. The man was being followed for an earlier carjacking when the wild pursuit began.
On scene, sir.
Okay, he's stepping out of the vehicle.
A suspect wanted for a violent carjacking,
He's trying to jack a car. He's trying to jack a car.
unaware of the watchful eyes above. Aerial surveillance shows him forcing the driver from the vehicle, initiating a wild and dangerous chase through the valley of Las Vegas.
It looks like he's firing out of the vehicle.
Officers firing back through their own vehicle as the suspect sped away, only to try it all again.
He might be trying to hijack someone else. Yep, he's out of his vehicle.
Firing at a woman, but unsuccessful, police swarmed as he weaved his way through a supermarket car park.
And he started to drive towards the officers who had exited their patrol vehicles and were telling him to stop the car.
At times clocking speeds of up to 160 kilometres through suburban streets, the chase lasting an hour before ramming head-on into an approaching police canine vehicle.
We're very fortunate that we're not burying that officer or the officers that were shot at.
His police dog Boris
Boris, you okay?
was uninjured. The suspect, 40-year-old Justin Venegas, now faces a slew of charges, including attempted murder, attempted robbery and felony evasion.
We're lucky.
In the United States, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
Finland's Prime Minister has denied taking drugs after leaked videos show the 36-year-old dancing and partying with friends. Sanna Marin, who recently led her nation to joining NATO, says she has nothing to hide but admitted to drinking alcohol and having a good time. 2 tourists have been fined $3,000 after making waves in Venice riding motorised surfboards along the Grand Canal. The mayor labelled the pair idiots, offering a free dinner to whoever can identify them. And someone got their free meal. The duo later arrested. Dame Nellie Melba is well known for her operatic excellence, but it seems she also loved a game or two of billiards. Now the table that sat at her country estate for a century has found a new home at a retirement village.
A billiard table that's on song. Built around 1920, the table was owned by renowned Australian soprano Dame Nellie Melba. For a century, it sat in her country escape, Coombe Cottage in the Yarra Valley. Its new home, now the Nellie Melba Ryman Retirement Village in Wheelers Hill, where it's enjoyed by avid players like Peter Waterworth and Robert Stubberfield. What's it like playing on the table?
Beautiful.
Why?
Oh, well, if you played round some of the pub pool tables and things like that, you know why.
We don't know who played on it, celebrities, and I don't know about royalty, but important people in Australian history, especially the arts.
The gents tried it out before it was acquired, so why was it sold?
Well, we didn't use it. It needed some love, and we just felt it could be better used elsewhere.
Requiring some refurbishment, the table was sent to Alcock's Billiards. Founded in 1853, it's the company that built the table especially for Dame Nellie.
I've never seen another one, so I think that, yeah, there was some connection there that she wanted this Queensland maple timber used throughout the table and the accessories.
Those accessories include the cue rack and painted ivory balls. So the old table proves that age is no barrier in the game of life, and given its history and who may have played on it, if only this table could talk. Or sing. Alan Ruskell, 9 News.
An Australian town has become the unlikely focus of the scientific world with the opening of an unusual lab site deep underground. While plenty of gold has been dug out of the local mine, it's a much rarer resource researchers are hoping to discover.
Known for its famous foot race, Stawell is hoping to have a new gift if they can find it deep in this gold mine.
Here we go. Yeah, coffee.
This quest has to start with a guide.
Well, the first thing I've got to learn is find the way around.
And a 25-kilometre trip through twisting tunnels.
290 metres below the surface, and we're heading down to 1,025 metres below the surface.
Just to reach this newly completed lab that wants centre stage in the global hunt for the mysterious dark matter.
to see it, we need to go in a very quiet place where there is no disturbance from things that come from the cosmos or any kind of radioactivity. And the best place is 1 kilometre underground.
The facility has been 8 years in the planning, funded by $10 million from state and federal governments and $35 million from the Australian Research Council. The next step will be trucking in and building specialist equipment they hope will detect dark matter particles in the next 3 to 5 years.
We know it's there. We know that sooner or later we find it.
Researchers above ground eager for a breakthrough.
It's the mysterious substance that builds 80% of the universe, and we still don't really understand its nature.
Most of the 50-strong team will work remotely.
We will have camera all over monitoring. If something goes wrong, you cannot, take a car and rush down.
Heidi Murphy, 9 News.
Ahead, a warning for Apple customers worldwide. iPhones, iPads and Macs at risk of a cyber attack, what you need to know, and how a swimmer escaped the jaws of a giant alligator. But first, Paddy Sweeney is here with Sport. And Paddy, the Dockers forward line could take another hit.
It doesn't sound good, does it? Fremantle has another fitness fight ahead of a Giants clash with Griffin Logue now in doubt. But the captain's in the capital and raring to go. A game's golden girl back in Perth and ready to rise for her next challenge. And hit the road Jack, an Aussie veteran, takes down some giants at Chopu. Doubts are looming large over Griffin Logue's availability for Fremantle's crucial clash with the Giants tomorrow. The Dockers swingman failing to train with the main group today, nursing a leg issue. GWS intent on spoiling Fremantle's push for a top 4 finish.
Certainly one of our motivations is that in the back end of the year, if we can cause any havoc to some teams that are, looking to set themselves up for a big September, that's definitely a motivator.
The Eagles flying out today for the final time to end their horror season. Tim Kelly returning from suspension to face his former side. Junior Rioli also back after personal leave. Jamie Cripps joined by wife Liv and son Reef ahead of his 200th game for West Coast. The Kangaroos head into round 23 content with securing Alistair Clarkson as their coach for the next 5 seasons. New Essendon president David Barham today breaking his silence, admitting current coach Ben Rutten has been treated badly. In 5 days as Essendon president, David Barham has watched the club become a laughingstock.
It's been uncomfortable for a lot of people, and I appreciate that, and mostly Ben.
Confronting his failed bid, Barham expressing little regret for pursuing Alistair Clarkson.
So if the best coach of the last 20 years is out there and is an interest in coaching Essendon, I would be derelict in my duty as a director and a president to not go and talk to him.
Essendon's efforts coming far too late, leaving Rutten's future in limbo.
I made a commitment to the football club, the members, supporters and my players.
A board meeting on Sunday to decide his fate. On the eve of their biggest game in decades, Carlton's Charlie Curnow signing on until 2029.
I'm really happy to find myself in this position and in a position I can, repay those years out back to the fans.
The Coleman medal leader with the chance to down arch rivals Collingwood and lock away a September stint for the first time in 9 years.
Be really excited by what's going on around us and what it all means and the game and what could happen on the back of it.
At the Pies, Jordan De Goey and Jack Ginnivan given the green light, boosting their top 4 quest.
We're not going to shy away from that. We're going to embrace every bit of it. The contest, the rivalry.
One to be played out in front of 90,000 fans. Tomorrow night's Adelaide showdown, a sellout and just as passionate, with power stars Ollie Wines and Tom Jonas labelling the Crows entitled.
I think the rivalry's fantastic. I think there's a line you draw. Port Power this time may have overstepped it.
Birmingham gold medalist Nina Kennedy is enjoying being back in Perth after a whirlwind few months. The 25-year-old is still celebrating a breakthrough 2022, now targeting Olympic gold and a benchmark only few have reached.
Back home after flying high around the world. Perth's golden girl reflecting on an amazing 2022.
I'm feeling tired, if I'm honest with you, but obviously
so proud of myself and like so ecstatic. But yeah, it's been a really big month and a half. So yeah, I'm happy I'm home for a little bit.
Nina Kennedy claiming bronze at the World Championships, gold at the Commonwealth Games and a maiden victory on the prestigious Diamond Tour.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff.
The Commonwealth Games was obviously like so nice to like do it for my country and my family and my friends and everything. For me personally, like the World Championships, third in the world, like it's absolutely incredible.
Home for the first time in months and back training at the WA Institute of Sport after a quiet celebration.
Oh, I don't know if we were going to mention that, but yeah, I had a few champers last night just to celebrate with my family. So yeah, it was fun.
Remaining humble but allowing loved ones to get a little carried away.
My sister made this big poster of me, this life-size poster of me, and we played Pin the Medal on Nina, so that was really fun.
A week of relaxation before heading back to Europe to take on the world again.
Hanging around Perth, going to the beach, walking.
The long-range goal, Paris 2024.
This is great. This is definitely a stepping stone to that ultimate goal, which is Olympic gold.
And a height only few have soared to.
Definitely in the future, my sights are definitely on that 5 metres. It's a big jump, like 4 girls in the whole entire world ever have jumped 5 metres.
Mitch Turner, 9 News.
Informed Margaret River surfer Jack Robinson has been knocked out of the Tahiti Pro in sensational circumstances. The world number 2 looked to be charging into the finals in pumping 6 to 8 foot surf. Fellow Aussie Nathan Hedge then finding a near perfect barrel. The 43-year-old dad from Narrabeen on Sydney's northern beaches making the most of his wildcard entry.
Oh, super late, and air drops down and stumbles into it and spit out, and the crowd goes wild.
Hedge pipping Robinson for a spot in the quarterfinals with a couple of 10s from the judges. You can't go wrong with those 10s there. That was sensational action. And tomorrow, Natalia, it's a massive game for the Dockers. Win, and there's still a chance for the top 4 against the Giants. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Everything's crossed.
Patty, thank you. Next, a security scare affecting a major tech giant. The warning for Apple users. Plus, how did he get there? A little boy trapped in a toy machine. And Kelly Haywood, a perfect winter's weekend.
Well, Natalia, 20 degrees and a mix of sun and cloud for both days, and then the rain will be staying away right into next week, but I'll have all those details coming up soon.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the biggest stories making news in Perth this evening. There's anger and disbelief tonight over the early release of the Bali bomb maker just weeks from the 20th anniversary of the nightclub attacks. A family is demanding answers after a 99-year-old heart attack survivor was forced to wait hours with severe abdominal pain at Joondalup Health Campus. And a Medina man who deliberately reversed his car over a teenager has been jailed for more than 7 years. Apple users have been issued a major alert. The tech giant is tonight warning a security flaw could leave their personal information vulnerable to hackers.
Some worrying news for anyone who owns an iPhone, iPad and the iPod Touch. Apple says it's identified 2 security holes, and while it wouldn't specify the exact vulnerabilities, it would allow hackers full admin access. That means attackers would be able to impersonate the owner and take control of their device and information.
Apple doesn't talk about those things until they've fixed the problem, which is what they've done in recent days, releasing updated software for pretty much every Apple device.
That software update can be installed now, an easy fix to close those security gaps.
Nothing was going to come between a 2-year-old boy in Brazil and the soft toy he couldn't resist. Little Samuel managed to climb into the arcade machine, his mother shocked to see him placidly playing with the toy animals and fairy tale figures. Staff got him free, but are puzzled as to how the happy Houdini got in there in the first place. A Florida man swam straight into the jaws of an alligator and has lived to tell the tale. He'd forgotten his goggles while filming a video and didn't see the 3.5-metre gator coming for him.
With the right stroke, all I felt was scales, teeth, and then right there I'm like, oh, okay. So what I think I did, what I felt like I did, was that I immediately tried to open its jaws.
Absolutely terrifying. The man is the 18th person to be attacked by an alligator in the US state of Florida this year. Stay with us. Kelly Haywood is back with all your weekend weather details right after this break.
Welcome back. A cool but cloudy end to the week, and while the sun did show its face, it only managed to get us to a top temperature of just below 20 degrees, a slow climb after our overnight low of 9. Taking a look at the satellite, and we've got a few clouds around, but otherwise sunny skies across the state, with the exception of some patchy showers down in the southwest of the state, and they should come on around Sunday morning. Taking a look around the country now, showers ahead for those in Adelaide, a top of 17 degrees, Hobart 11 degrees and some early morning showers, Melbourne rain ahead and 13 degrees, and a very chilly 0 degree start for those in Canberra, warming to a top of 13. A possible late shower and a top of 20 for Sydney, and Brisbane 23 the top. And as always, sunny in Darwin. Back home in WA, we're looking at a sunny 32 degrees ahead for Port Hedland, 26 the top for both Exmouth and Meekatharra. Looking further down the coast for your Saturday, partly cloudy and 19 in Northam tomorrow, 18 in Augusta, and a very partly cloudy 19 ahead for Esperance. Out on the waters, seas will sit below a metre and swell should reach up to 2.5. And it is a good day to head out on the boat tomorrow. We'll have some light winds and a top of 20 degrees down into an overnight low of 8 degrees and some cloudy conditions throughout the day. Now, we will have some different conditions throughout the week. It is looking quite similar on Sunday, 20 degrees the top. Then it'll cool as we move down to Monday and Tuesday. A partly cloudy 21 degrees on Wednesday. It will then warm to a very nice 23 degrees for your Thursday. And there is the very, very, very slight chance of a shower on Friday, but we will have partly cloudy conditions and a top of 21 degrees. So not long now until the end of winter, Natalia. So hopefully we have some very beautiful days ahead of us.
I'm sure we will. The year is flying by. Kelly, thank you. That's 9 News this Friday. Thank you for your company. A current affair is next. Enjoy your evening. From us, good night.